Hello, and welcome to Swell Season Surf Radio. I am your host, Tyler Breuer. Our guest tonight is local surfer, Ellie Miller. She is a registered nurse who lives in Brooklyn, New York, and has been practicing as a labor and delivery nurse for 8 years. She is about to embark on her third career as a midwife and is an adult learner surfer, having started in earnest about 3 years ago. She lives in Bed-Stuy with her husband and 2 teenage kids, and sometimes they come surfing too. Welcome to the show, Ellie. Great to have you on. Really psyched to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
I'm so excited to be here. I feel famous.
You are. Come on. Everyone's going to know you now. So I feel like we have to address how we met, because I think it's a really good story, though. And so do you want to recount from your side, and then I'll recount from mine? And
yes, and then we'll meet in the middle.
Yeah, I like that.
That sounds like a plan. So it was probably
like a month and a half ago,
was
maybe?
It was cold. It was like cold, and I don't surf big waves, so I like it when it's like 2 or 3 feet. And so between like my work schedule, and it had been really, really big for a while, so I hadn't been out for a while. So there's like one day, and I was like, oh, it looks good, I'm going to go. So I go, and there's like not that many people out there. So I was like, all right, cool. And like I saw a couple of people that I knew, and so that was nice. And so I'm out there, and I'm like, oh, here's a wave for me. And I'm not at the peak, because I'm never at the peak, because we can talk about that later.
We're going to get into all of this good stuff. It'll be fun.
So I wasn't at the peak, but I wasn't like on the shoulder either. So I'm like, all right, I see the wave. I look over my shoulder. I don't see anyone. And then I'm like almost in the wave, and then I see you, and I pull back off the wave. But I have a big board. So I have a 9-foot board. And we make contact. And you go under the water, and I noticed you weren't wearing a leash. So your board went like far. And I'm kind of like, and you came out of the water, and I can't remember exactly what you said, but it wasn't nice. It might have been like, what the fuck? Or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
But it was something like, if I can imagine that I would say something like that too. So I'm not like putting that on you or anything. So you came out of the water, your board was getting like washed out. I was like, well, he's like swimming for his board. So I don't think I like injured him. And then I was like, oh, this is such a fucking bummer, because there's only like a handful of us out here. And now I have to decide if I'm going to like fucking hate this guy. And I've never seen him before. And like, I don't know, like, I just wanted to come out and have a good time. And that was like the first wave that I went for. And I was like, oh, this sucks. So anyway, and you're like looking at your board, and in my head, I'm like, here we go, like the show to see if the equipment's damaged, where I'm like, I will pay for it if I messed up your board. So I'm like waiting for you to like come back, and you're like sort of like grimacing and stuff, which is fair enough. And I was like, are you okay? And you're like, yeah. And I was like, is your board okay? And you said, yeah. And then you said something to me, and like we started getting into it a little bit. And then I remember you saying something, and I don't remember what you said, but I remember what I said, which was, okay, Dad. And I was just like,
yeah.
And I think that maybe we're the same age, or I might even be older than you. So that was just like ridiculous. But anyway, so, and then I was like, you know what, like, come over here. Like, let's talk. We're like adults. There's not enough people in the water where I can hide from you. And I just like wasn't in the mood to like not like somebody. So you came over, and I was like, look, are you okay? Is everything okay with your board? Like, I really wasn't trying to get in your way. I didn't see you, honestly. And I did, when I saw, I didn't see you when I went for the wave. And when I did see you, I pulled back. But like, like I was almost in the wave. So I was like, you can totally like push me out of the wave. Like the New York surf guys do that all the time. When they see me on the wave, they're like, watch out, Ellie. And they just like push me. So I'm plenty used to that. And then I started crying because I was like,
all the listeners are like, this Tyler's an asshole. I think I'm listening to this. I'm like, I'm an asshole. I'm a total jerk.
And I was like, I haven't been out here in so long. And I just come out here to have fun. And now I'm crying. And like, women always get yelled at in the water. And like, I'm going on and on. And so you were like, all right, and he was like, well, my name's Tyler. And I was like, I'm Ellie. And then you kept talking. And I was like, wait, I recognize your voice. And you're the swell season person. And then we just like started talking, and it was actually like the best version of like that situation that I've ever experienced, and might be like ever in history. Well, because when I've had interactions let me just say for the listeners, people,
I didn't become I gotta say, I didn't become reasonable because you recognized me. I was on my way to being reasonable.
No. Yes, no, you were. Once I was like, once I was like, just come over here so we can like talk and like be normal instead of sort of like shouting from like middle distance at each other. I was like, just come over here and we can talk. And like, if you're hurt or something happened to your board, like I will take care of it. But like, I don't want to be in the water and then have to, like, if I ever see you again, be like, oh, there's that guy. Now I have to avoid him. Like, I just want to go out there and have fun. And so that's what it was like for me. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. And then you like sent me some surf movies to watch, and now we're friends.
Well, it's like, I guess from my perspective, it was, and I think partially is me being kind of maybe greedy in the lineup. I was getting plenty of waves and shouldn't have been a big deal. And the waves were small and fun and nice, and it was super mellow. And I think my thing was my reflex reaction is what I think came out. And what, it's like when you feel harmed, and my wife will even tell you, like, I am not good at being startled. Like, I just freak out, like I freak out.
Most people do.
And I think I was, nervous because I heard the boards clank, and obviously having to swim after a board. I was like, and you're grumpy then. And my reaction was visceral, and it was reactionary and not what I am ever proud of. And I frequently beat myself up on this a lot, but I totally reacted. And I remember saying, you got to look back, but I said it in a much harsher tone. I just don't want to blow the mic here. But,
I think that's when I said, okay, Dad.
Exactly.
Because I was just like, yes, I know I'm supposed to look. I looked, but like, I didn't.
You didn't see me because I am a very fast surfer, and I am also, kind of a ninja of sorts, when it comes to that.
Yes, you're a ninja, like nearly pro level, and you surf really fast.
But but what it was is, and then, it's like my heart rate settled for a second, and you particularly were so mature and calm and willing to talk to me, and you weren't totally defensive, because some people can get very defensive and then it just kind of builds. But you really diffused it incredibly well, and I really, I've thought so much about this over like the last month and a half too. I play it back, like constantly embarrassed, to be honest, of myself. And but I think about how well you handled that. And I'm like, God, if more of us could be that calm when these incidents happen, I think we would have a better lineup.
Yeah. I mean, Like when you say like you like I totally get it. And I think we talked about this when we were talking, like people come out, like we're in a pandemic, everybody's stressed, even under the best of circumstances. You're like, all right, I'm getting out to the beach. You have to travel to get there. You have all your stuff. In the winter, it's cold. Everybody's a little bit grumpy anyway because of all the gear. And you just want to get out there and like do your thing, but it's not a private activity. So you have to negotiate the other people. And as a newer surfer, so I think the evolution of like being a newer surfer is like at first you're totally unaware of other people. And like you have no clue. Even when people are like, there's priority and etiquette, you're like, what the fuck? Like, I'm just going to go for
like
it.
My questions here. And this is what I was going to ask is like, what's it like, and this sounds really ignorant for me because I grew up surfing. I've watched many friends learn to surf. I've helped guide many people to learn to surf. Yet I've never actually asked like, hey, what's it like? What's that experience like of going into this unknown? And one of the things I wanted to ask, like that leads into this also is like, did you have anyone introduce you to surfing or did you just kind of go on your own and kind of just learned on your own?
Well, I had done a little bit of surfing like here and there on a vacation, and we did some surfing. We went down to Mexico one winter, and we surfed there. And I was like, oh, this is like amazing. And it's kind of like always one of those things that I was like, I bet I could be really good at this if I tried. Based not in reality, but just this idea in my head, like maybe in a former life, I was like a really good surfer. So then a couple of summers, maybe like 3 summers ago, my husband tore his Achilles tendon at the beginning of the summer. And we had this big trip planned and all this stuff. And so that summer was like a bummer. And I'm a nurse, so I should have been like a great caretaker, but I am terrible, according to my husband. He was like, you're so unsympathetic and, whatever. But I was excellent, I swear. Anyway, so that summer was like a real bummer because my husband was basically immobilized for a long time because that's the type of thing where like he literally couldn't get up for like 4 weeks. And then, then he's in a boot and the whole thing. And my kids, their summer was wrecked because we couldn't go anywhere because my husband's doctor was like, you can't travel further than like 2 hours away because if he develops a blood clot and has a stroke, like you need to get somewhere. And so I was like, okay, like great. So we're trapped in Brooklyn for the summer. Like we tried to go to the beach a couple times, but he's like in a boot on crutches. It was like a mess. So basically, as soon as he could walk and like get back to work and my kids were in school, I was like, I'm going to take a surf lesson because I need like this. I need something to like make up for it. And October is like the best because it's warm and it's empty. So I started taking some lessons and like I said, like at the beginning, I was just like, woohoo, I'm on a foamy and like, I'm just going to do whatever. And then you get to this next level, I think, where you really become aware of what's going on. And also you meet people. And so, they're sort of telling you what's up and all those things. And so then you sort of get in the groove and like, I listen to surf podcasts and I listen to yours. I listen to the Surf Continuum.
Chris is great.
And I listened I took a lesson with Chris once last year and
he's so cool.
And yeah, he's great. And just sort of, so then you like tune into a little bit more and then you become, and this is like the dangerous part, I think, for like the late novice surfer. Cause there's one version, I think, like me, who like tries to follow the rules and be respectful and be safe, right? Because that's the biggest thing. Cause I've gotten clocked in the head with a board and like, it took me out.
Yeah.
And I've also gotten hit by my own board, but